Good morning, coffee moaners. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, isn't this weather lovely? Is it lovely where you are? I hope so.
How are we this morning, Nads?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for everyone's huge interaction with our live review of The Settlers by Louis Theroux.
Yes, we are so grateful for everyone that keeps sharing about it. It's been fantastic. Everybody is now talking about it. It's getting seen. I made it sound like because of what we'd said. No, I'm not. I'm saying separate.
No, but there's been a huge appetite
yes.
for it. I mean, our review, a lot of people watching it, a lot of people sharing their frustration, their stories of hope, their stories of just feeling like, thank God, someone's validating what they feel.
So we're not going to talk about Gaza in Coffee Moaning this morning, but we are going to be doing a separate video about Ben-Gvir, the master settler, who is now in New York, lording it up everywhere. And we really want to do just a video about his trip there, because he is a settler of all settlers and thoroughly unpleasant little man.
Yeah, he's causing quite a bit of everywhere he goes, he causes arguments.
But anyway, more of that later.
Yeah. Are you a lawyer, Nad? So he's asking.
You're not a lawyer. Yeah.
No, but there's a whole bunch of really good lawyers at the International Criminal Court. So just head over
who are very clear on what is going on.
Pop over there. Pop over there, because they seem to think that the president or prime minister, whatever the fuck he is of Israel, is a war criminal.
Dictator.
Yeah.
Okay,
morning,
so
Tory.
First of all, what are we going to talk about? We're going to be talking about the bloody power cut.
Wow. Anyone here
from
Spain,
Spain?
Portugal or France? I didn't realise it reached into France.
And survivalism. What are you going to put in your shit? As you know, we have a generator, and as you know, we have no petrol for it. So also, is divorce like a death? Should we give it the same credence? Should we give it the same sympathy, empathy, maybe even the same time off work? Are we too quick to push people along with their emotions because they're uncomfortable?
Yeah.
I think so.
And I think it's a really important chat. And ego death. What is an ego death? I have the Encyclopedia Britannica's definition of an ego death, but it's become the buzzword. It's become a buzzword on TikTok among celebrities.
Our younger viewers will know exactly what it is, because when Mark told me about this article he found this morning, our youngest went, ego death, and then just went off on what ego death
Apparently
was.
people are having them left, right and centre. Apparently you can have them at a bus stop.
I wish we could get our kids to be part of our coffee moaning meetings. I think we should. I think one day a week, not on here, because they don't like to be on
screen. Do you know what I was thinking we should do? Every now and then on the Today programme on BBC Radio 4, and magazines used to do this, didn't they, years ago? You have a guest editor. So like we should get your friend Tits to be guest editor and sort of home in on the stories. They don't need to necessarily be here, but they give us the stories that they want us to do.
Exactly.
Something like that. Or
but it's also like the Bulwark. I love the podcast where they've got the Gen Zers on. And so it's a Gen Z. So I would love our kids to decide our lineup.
Our subject.
It would be so good. I'm going to get them to do it. They're going to go, this is a great idea. We'll go, no.
Russ Souch, I'll be a great editor. You see, I think it could be something that you win.
Maybe sometimes as well, we should ask the subs what topic
has to be on the morning of the day. Yeah.
No, because it could be a more generic topic like divorce and death. It doesn't have to. Oh my God, look over there. Oh, Chi-Chi's doing forlorn face. Oh, she's so cute. So if you're on podcast, that's our dog. She's the loveliest dog. Oh,
I do want to, because a number of people have come here and have found us through our review of the Louis Theroux documentary. I do want to say that our prediction has come true. The way in which the mainstream media dealt with the documentary was by not dealing with it.
I didn't have that prediction. It was a sub that said it to me, and I was like, wow, you were right.
Yeah. So a couple of The Guardian and The Independent gave really strong reviews. The Telegraph, just entertain yourselves and go over there to see their 2-star review.
Independent. Did you say Independent?
I said The Independent and The Guardian.
Thanks, Faith.
And everyone else just absolutely avoided it because it's an uncomfortable truth. It's just the way in which the mainstream media just kind of totally freezes out of the equation or discussion anything that doesn't marry with whatever their sort of slightly jaundiced opinion.
You were so right. When people just keep on asking the same question about the hostages, of which anyone outside of Israel or America has no power over getting those hostages back, it's Netanyahu and Trump that need to stop bombing the hostages. We can say,
What about
Can
the
you give
settlers?
me your opinion on the illegal settlers that are tormenting Palestinians day and night and have done for decades?
I mean, there's a whole
no answer. They won't answer.
We're also going to talk about this in the Gaza thing, but the only reason we're having a little chat just briefly here is I know a number of people have arrived through our review, and the other thing I really want to talk about in our Gaza chat, if it's all right, because we haven't had a chance to, is not just Ben Gvir, but we're going to talk about Kneecap, the Northern Irish band, and also the way in which many of those individuals that signed the petition to have the Growing Up in a War Zone Gaza documentary pulled down. They're all kind of asking questions of Kneecap, like, why have you done this? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you answerable to this? And why don't you but none of them ever comment on the settlers. Never. So honestly, it's the strongest argument back. Tell me your view on the settlers, and then I'll give you my view on the hostages. I will always say that now. I will always say that. Good. Right, so
okay, so coincidence that Spain stopped sending weapons to Israel and they had a huge power cut. There's been a lot about this, Abby.
Yes.
So thank you.
Kick us off with that.
Kick us off, Abby. So basically, how long was the power cut in the end? It was Spain and Portugal.
Yes, it was a sort of. Let's have a look here. We've got all the details from the ever more reliable BBC. Travel disruption in Spain and Portugal is still ongoing.
Well, it will do.
Yeah.
Backlog.
Spain's power has been almost fully restored and substations in Portugal are being brought back. But it was a good, was it 24, 48 hours? I mean, it was a long enough period of time. Flights were grounded. Traffic signals stopped.
People slept on the floor, didn't they?
Wi-Fi went. Yeah. We all slept on the floor like dogs, says Barcelona passenger. People with tickets to travel couldn't get anywhere. I saw images of people stumbling along the highways towards Lisbon airport because the traffic
total blackout.
In total blackout. Just
so it
lugging.
Was total, was it? There was like no light at all.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Reese Roberts says, I've got
hate to bring up Gaza again.
Yeah,
that's what they've been dealing with.
I've got a friend in Spain, says Reese, but she told me that it's like COVID times with people just outside drinking beers, listening to the radio. So it's not entirely doom and gloom from what she's told me. Isn't this interesting, Reese? So the weird part, and we're up to date on The Last of Us, Reese, review landing later. The weird part about Armageddon is, given the light, this is really odd. We live such actually harassing lives that when all fucking hits the wall and all goes wrong, we all found peace in it.
When it's short enough time, if it's a short enough time, you can. I mean, do you remember that time we had that power cut a few years ago and Maddie said it was the happiest few hours of her life?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and of course, we're not talking about hospitals that lose their power.
Yeah, exactly. But there will be some people that just enter into it as like, oh, well, why is that?
Yeah.
Because we are so sure that everything will come back to us. And that's where we go so wrong, because we should not be so sure. Look at the freedoms that are being stripped away from Americans. We take it all for granted. We take it all for granted that we're just going to flick our light on and there's going to be light, and have gratitude, God, for what we have. But I went into...
Patsy says, guys, on my local radio, a caller this morning lives in Spain. He said just a few hours before the power cut, 4 army jets flew over the coast. Could have been an emergency. They could have been heading off to a sort of military depot that was experiencing some kind of compromise.
But the way that the world is at the moment, anything that happens, we're going to have multiple questions. They will all be dismissed as conspiracy theories. But the problem is we do move more and more. If you think, Mark, 2 years ago, we didn't used to say something to each other and go, but is it right? Is it true? Is it real? Is it? Right. And we do now, don't we? On every single thing we do that.
I don't trust anything.
It's awful. I hate this not trusting.
I have to say, okay, throw my cards on the table. I do trust more than I trust any other outlet, more than I unfortunately trust the BBC now, The Guardian and The Independent.
Really?
It doesn't.
Trust The Guardian?
No, not entirely. So when I say trust, that they're the two I most trust. What I don't trust and what we can't trust with any news outlet is what news they get. Or it's not a case of they just simply report what they're given, though I have to say, in the case of Israel, it is they issue a press release and the West just publishes it. But, interrogative journalism, if you're looking at stories about research, about science, about all this kind of stuff, I'll go to the Guardian, I'll go to the Independent, about education, all these kind of different types of topics. But I don't necessarily trust that what they're being told is truthful. It goes before the papers.
Because do you trust that they really dig?
Yes, I don't.
Oh, Zoe says she only trusts Coffee Moaning.
I know, but I wouldn't trust us. We don't know what the fuck's coming out of our mouths.
As we always say, we're not journalists. We just chat in the way that other people are chatting.
And you're not a lawyer.
And I'm not a lawyer.
It's going to be the new. We should get a cap. I'm not a lawyer.
I mean, if people keep
Let's
wondering
do
what
it.
this is, I was talking about Ben Gvir on Instagram. Somebody came up and said, "You are not a lawyer." I said, "No, yeah, well, that was so amazing."
But you know what? Whoever that was, if they're here, you're giving us an idea for some merch. Thanks.
So
yeah.
anyway, so then we got on to how would we actually survive a power cut? Have you got that little video?
I changed the music, swapped the music. So for those of you listening, we're about to watch something that's
This is apparently all the stuff we're supposed to have. Massive power outage. Boys come to Spain. 100,000 people would die with no power.
Do you have the gear?
Do you have the gear? Ways to communicate with loved ones. What was that?
It was a walkie-talkie.
A walkie-talkie.
So let's
antibiotics.
So
that's what you're supposed to have, isn't it?
Cash. The other thing is have cash.
My sister Dina,
you won't
make sure that once a week, at least every single week, she buys things with cash. Because she said this thing of there being no cash is a dangerous situation. It's squeezing.
And yet she's the one always saying, should I buy into Bitcoin? I mean, she's a bundle of contradictions, your sister. Hundreds of thousands of people would die with no power. Water. We don't have enough water. We need more water. Well, the only person who does is my mum.
Where are we going to keep the water?
Do you have the gear to survive? Do you have?
We haven't got a walkie-talkie.
What's he got there? Is that just a?
Phone? Oh, that's a power. That's a battery. That should be a
power pack.
Where do all the power packs go? I've bought about 5, 6, 7 power packs.
Well, do you know what's
time.
really?
When we've gone camping, where are they?
Do you want to know something that I can be relatively confident about, given that I've never ever fucking used a power pack in my life? I don't know.
Shall I tell you where it is? Yes.
Where?
Shall I tell you where it is? On your desk.
Where?
There is a power pack.
There is not on
there
my
is.
desk.
Under your top shelf in there is a power pack.
There
once I saw
is
it in
not a power. That is
so this
a book.
This is what will be happening when we're in pitch darkness.
Where have you put the scissors?
Where? Now we bought.
Where are the scissors?
We bought.
My mother hasn't been here.
We've had 5 power cuts this year.
Where are the bandages?
We haven't got the bandages.
Where's the water? Where can we put the water to go? Where can we put the water?
I'm thinking of the thing out there.
Water
Oh,
we can't drink it, babe.
It's our blow up. It's our blow up. Yes, we can.
Flip it upside down. You can live under it.
We will live. We will drink that water because after a couple of days, we just have to leave the lid off and there won't be any.
You are telling me you would drink water from our hot tub?
Absolutely. Of course I would if I was thirsty enough.
But Dina's had a soiree in there with her friends.
You might end up eating me.
That's
Mark. Stop.
You took us there.
No.
And you're not a lawyer.
No. So we are not prepared. We've got nothing. I noticed there he had a vacuum pack. Play it again, just without the volume. Because here, you missed this one. Look at this. Apparently, we're supposed to have a vacuum packer. Oh, there he is. I don't know what he's doing there. Look, he's vacuum packing.
He's vacuum packing. Vacuum packing food?
Yes.
How long will it last for? The problem is
you've still got to put it in the fridge.
And also batteries you still have to charge. You have to get everything ready on a regular basis.
Yes.
We have anyone here prepped? Is anyone a prepper who's prepped? Pixie Petal. We have power banks charged, torches and candles ready.
You're right.
And in the winter, open wood fire. In the loft, we've got wood.
But we've got nowhere to burn it.
And also, I've got no way of opening the loft without breaking my neck.
And without light, you won't find anything.
What? On a serious note, okay, here's the thing. I think
we've got battery power chargers, but they're not charged.
I think Abby Reid, was it Abby Reid, has hit the
I'm
nail on the head.
now. We brought this upon us.
Everyone keeps saying it's Russia, it's Russia, it's Russia. And as
we've been trained to always think it's Russia.
Not. It's Mossad, it's Mossad, it's Mossad. We don't seem to care that Israel controls the entire West virtually and all that compromised all of our leaders. But we all sit there going, it's Russians, it's Russians.
Not you, though. We're not saying you.
Who?
Whoever you just read out.
I didn't read anyone out.
Oh, I was going to say it's a bit rude.
I wasn't reading anyone out.
I thought you said Abby had
said it could be Israel. And I was agreeing
sorry,
with
Abby.
her.
I thought you'd said Russia. And
No.
Mark go, oh, well done, Russia. I was kicking him under the table.
No, I was kind of, it's like the government is forever kind of, let's find the common enemy. Look, you saw Wicked. What did the Wizard of Oz say in Wicked?
I don't know.
Hang on.
I didn't listen. What did he say?
We all need a common enemy.
Oh, God, I wasn't going to.
No, but Russia is the common enemy. It's not Russia.
MeTube always flies in with good, sensible news. I don't think people understand how well protected the UK grid is. Tell us.
How?
Tell us, because we've had 5 cutouts.
Well, maybe the UK grid is protected, but Croydon isn't.
Yeah.
Croydon, bankrupt. Croydon.
Everywhere
apart from Croydon. I understand where Mark is coming from. It's true, says Sophia Lopez, official.
Yeah.
Rachel Pickard, our neighbour is fully prepped. Everybody needs good neighbours. But
Spain refused the arms from Israel, and the next day this is where this theory is coming from.
Oh, that'll be Hamas now, won't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Hamas. It's anti-Semitic. You're not a lawyer. Oh my God, I'm going into an ego death. I've entered an ego chamber.
Let's go on to ego death.
I tell you who I wish had an ego death, and that's Ben Gvir. I wish his ego died. The biggest ego and the tiniest man. And what is
Rachel
ego
has
death?
come back at me, Tube, and said, "Yeah, but our water is fucked." Oh, Kate Pendrick, I'm in Barcelona. It wasn't that bad.
Oh,
Kate, don't come in here and ruin a good story.
Oh.
Kate, what was it like? Kate's in Barcelona.
Laura Lou says,
Barcelona.
don't tell anyone else you're prepped because everyone will run to your house for things they need.
Laura, you are a true survivalist.
Or a bit mean. keep the curtains closed. The thing about
no, but it is true, because when we were talking about growing our own veg in case the world goes tits up, we said, but then if we grow our own veg, we're going to need a gun, because how are we going to protect our veg? And this is because they had The Last of Us on last night. It
quickly descends into a Walking Dead Last of Us scenario now.
Yeah,
I don't think you'd do well in that. Were you good with a gun?
Well, would be if somebody was after me marrows, I can tell you.
After your marrows?
Yes.
You've never cooked a marrow in your life.
Marrows are really good because they're very hydrating.
Why do we never eat them?
And we've got no water.
Why do we never eat marrows?
We refuse. Because you lot will go, I don't want a marrow. I love marrow.
You do, right? You are an absolute piece of piss. You do not love marrows.
Well, I like them if they're stuffed really nicely with lamb and rice. And
Nadia said something in the Sunday show this weekend that really, really chimed for me. She said, I wish there was someone in the house who could cook me a roast dinner. I am cooking you a beautiful roast dinner on Sunday.
I keep meaning to tell you that you can't. We've got people in. So.
Who's here?
I'll tell you.
Oh, God.
So,
bang goes that plan. Save the marrows,
I don't mind having
Bridget
a roast on a Saturday. I've got nothing against it.
I'm sure your Sophie Ellis Bextor cutout would have a great purpose during the blackout.
We could put her as a guard of our vegetables.
Well, no, there used to be a time where we had a Matt Damon cutout and we put it in Nanny Di's room
scared the
shit out of people at the bus.
Us,
They'd be like
and
that.
we knew what it was.
Yeah, we knew it was.
My friend has a gun, a blood transplant kit, antibiotics, crossbows, torches, the lot.
And he hasn't been arrested.
Even though you were allowed. Well, I suppose if you're a hunter.
Oh, Reese, taking us fully to The Last of Us. Also, in an apocalypse, you often need things to trade to gain something else. But I think you guys would have plenty of tradable items.
It'd be him. Mind you, you're not very tradable because you can't do DIY. Fuck up. Mark, we're going to need you to build fences. Mark, we need fences built. You can't. Well, I don't know why I keep saying this. I am going to go.
Oh, shut the fuck up, woman. It goes on. There was a piece the other day saying women say 50,000 more words.
No.
This morning, you have not stopped.
13,000 more words a day we use than men.
Yeah.
No, but did you read the rest of the article? Because we're deeper. It said that.
Go fuck yourself,
Mark, don't
lawyer.
say, no, that is horrible.
You're not deeper. You just go on and on. And then if you lurch to the right, you go on and then on. Nadia
could sell her DIY videos and make a fortune. Exactly, Christopher Cundall, because I'm going on a wood workshop course.
Oh, good for you. Mark,
me and Kaz are going on a wood workshop
Hang on a minute. As Zoe said, I was trying to do something nice on Sunday, but now I can't. So just putting it out there.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you so much.
What?
Mark, you have a blind to put up.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Stuart.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on.
When is the blind going up?
Let's
I want you
talk
to say
about,
it in front of the people.
Let's talk about ego death. This is the what is ego death? This was inspired by a piece in The Independent.
Start saying what you believe.
With an interview with David Harbour, who in interview said this. That's part of the problem. People believe the hype. They get into the image. They forget that it's all just, I mean, I'm not the same person I was this morning. It's all impermanent. It's all going to change. It's all going to die. And that's very, very much deeply in my heart now at 21 life was going to go on forever. So ego death, this is a new buzz phrase. This is what the Britannica Encyclopedia says. Ego death in psychoanalysis and mysticism and religions is the disappearance of an individual's sense of self, or the removal of one's perception of oneself as an entity separate from one's social or physical environment. Ego death can be traced back to early shamanistic, mystical and religious rites. And so this is something that's being used and said and trotting around and trending all over TikTok. Here's a post illustrating ego death. I knew I matured when I was okay with nobody knowing my side of the story and letting them live whatever version of me they have in their mind. Removing the ego.
Hang on, say that again. I knew I matured when I was okay with nobody knowing my side of the story, and letting them live with whatever version of me they have.
Those that mind don't matter.
Those that matter don't mind. No, it's quite interesting, isn't it? We have this need to
be understood.
And we were having a conversation, weren't we, with a young person that we know about this over the weekend.
Greataholic, enlightenment.
Who'd had, like, you know, and it was very much the age of this person. And it was like, you know, they'd had this dreadful time the week before. They'd gone out with a group of people, hadn't they? And this person is such a lovely person. It's a friend of ours. That's why we're talking in code, so that we don't. And she was really upset because she'd felt, and it was so interesting listening to her, because I realised how much I've improved on that. They still have a huge place to get to. There's still a long road for me. In that need for everybody to like you, to everybody to understand you.
Yes.
And the word ego has such a negative connotation to say, oh, egomania, oh, egotistical. And, you know,
sending you love,
ego is part, and this is what my yoga teachers helped me understand. Something, you know, ego is really important. It's what it can drive us. We need it. But it's when it becomes the constant chatter in our own brain. You know, she always says, you know, quieten the chatter, quieten the chatter. Instinct is a whisper. You'll just hear it like as a whisper, whereas ego is like constantly churning over your head. All that stuff of like the echo chamber and the trolls that live in your head. And it's all driven by wanting people to think about you in a certain way, isn't it? So though that might seem a bit, oh, TikTok, bit wanky, he's running, he hasn't got his top on, there is something in that. There is, to give up, trying to make everyone understand the version of you that you want them to understand, because we've got so many different versions, haven't we?
But could I just be devil's advocate for a wee minute and say that this guy running along with his spectacularly handsome body and his fabulous tattoos with a beautiful sunset and a perfectly positioned beanie.
Well, that's what I mean.
I knew I matured when I was okay with nobody knowing my side of the story.
Egotistical.
And letting them live with. He's letting us know his side of the story is not minding that other people don't get his side of the story.
Yeah, it's a bit screwed up. It's a little bit.
So he's actually doing.
It's a little bit wavy.
Yeah, he's doing the very thing that he claims not to be doing, which is trying to control the narrative. Now, I think this idea of worrying. Zoe's just done the quote. Used the quote. I used to walk into a room and wonder if people like me. Now I walk into a room and wonder if I like them. Amitav Ghosh, I heard say that years ago.
It's a beautiful.
It was
quote.
A wondrous thing. Why am I walking into rooms worrying what people think of me? I'm more worried what I think about you.
This is what I said to this friend of ours that was really upset. I said, you know, get to the place. You know you're a good person with lots of faults, because most of us are good people with lots of faults. And you know that you're like a warm person, a kind person. So just feel a bit, this person isn't right for me, because if they don't like me, they're not right for me.
I want to get deep.
And also you cannot be right for someone at a certain point.
I want to get deep. I want to get deep. I want to get really deep.
How deep is your love? How deep is your love? I really need to know. We're not in harmony.
Hang on.
Babe.
He does look like a Tarquin. He's a nature Tarquin, absolutely.
Nature Tarquin,
Me too, very funny. No, I want to get deep for a minute, because I think part of the ego death, what he's referring to there, and what I think is part of this, is the idea of the controllability of what other people think of you, but also controllability of narrative. Now, I would say that one of the things that I've really struggled with in my life, with so many relationships and with so many, things that have gone wrong, and and in relationships that are alive and relationships that have passed or relationships that are on pause or whatever, is I've always really strived and striven hard to try and control, not control in a sort of, but influence or clarify the narrative running in someone else's head. I've wanted to, if there's a misunderstanding or if someone's running with a thought that I can see as upsetting them and it's wrong and it just doesn't speak to the truth, but they're hurting themselves with that thinking, I will go through an inordinate amount of stress and distress trying to, with all the best will in the world, say to them, look, have you seen it like this? You did. Now, whilst I would argue I'm doing that from a position of kindness, of trying to correct them and sort of, say, look, it's okay. What I'm actually doing, that's my ego drive, seeking in the kindest of ways to control something I just can't control. Now, it doesn't mean you just wash your hands of every scenario and every relationship and just go, oh, well, what will be, will be. You can throw it into the world, but it's about throwing yourself into the world and what you've got to offer, I think, people and things. And as a parent, I see my job as throwing out my experiences, my struggles, my joys, and hopefully they can learn from them or not. But doing it in a way that if they're taken, they're taken. But if they're not allowing it to then destroy me. And I think, that's what I think intriguing about ego death.
I think it's the single most important thing for you to work on.
Yeah.
Personally, because I think where your ego comes from is from having a very unstable
volatility
childhood and low self-esteem. Like God knows why you've got low self-esteem, and you say, just look at you, just think, what's that? No,
it doesn't work like that, though, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Like
it doesn't. And that's the same. When I can suffer from low self-esteem, but I'm 7 years older than you. I'm further on than you, but most of my life I suffered with low self-esteem and the need to make people like me, which was very unlikable, I'm sure.
Yes.
And I had a really sturdy, stable upbringing with, being validated and everything. So when you haven't had that, and when you've had to really survive and push through and just, you're on alert for everything. You're on alert that something could go wrong. The anxiety is there. Am I in danger if this person doesn't like, or if this person thinks something about me that isn't true, I have to fix that because over here, this could cause a problem. And so it all feeds in. So lowering the ego, recognizing what you do is so freeing. It's so freeing when you hear yourself doing it and you just go, just the other week I had one of those where I drove myself crazy about I can't even remember what it was I said now, but I was like, oh God, how did I come across and what did that person think of me? And I thought, fucking hell, he's 60 years old. And I don't want to be tough. I don't want to toughen up.
Also, you don't want to be, and also you don't want to become one of those. Also, it's about not becoming one of those. Here's one of those lines that I hate. This is what I am. I'm not. You can't change me.
But I think that's
take me as you.
But you know what? Where I think that often comes from, Mark. I think that often comes from somebody that's really trying to swing the other way,
right?
And so they go to extreme. Whereas that's why for me, yoga has been so helpful in that because it's about.
Zoe says the same.
Yeah, isn't it, Zoe? And when it's about steadying yourself. What's that quote I always give from my dad? Let the headless chicken spin around you. He used to say it all the time when we were kids. I was like, God, just because you all used to just kill your chickens with your bare hands, we don't have headless chickens here. But of course he didn't mean that. And of course he'd never killed a chicken with his bare hands.
I would say I'd go further than that.
It's not allowing people to spin you out of your own center.
I think something that helps and something I try and encourage the kids to adopt or think about is everyone, even people who present to you in the most sort of offensive, controlling, bullying, nasty, people who demonstrate really quite obviously negative character traits. My line to the girls often on all of them is, and this isn't about always understanding, because I can't stand this phrase, oh, well, we've got to understand the bully. Yes, we can understand where it's come from, but in the immediacy of having your face smashed in, I don't want to understand the bully.
But we don't go off too far.
No, hang on, let me just finish my thought. And so the point that I want to make is that, I've lost my thread. read that and I'll come back to it.
So Karima, I'm 54 and finally realised that I don't need to be liked by everyone. I just won't be everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. It comes from a childhood and adulthood of seeking parental approval. And that is so, and like for younger people here that are really struggling with these feelings, look how many of us that are older that are saying we're getting it now. You know, we just come into it. But we didn't have the amount of information that's out there now. So you can start off from today, just tweaking.
The thought that I was going to say was, what I try and say to the girls is, most people, even when they're demonstrating really negative behavior, I would say that almost a common and a catch-all for everyone is operating in some area of fear. Everyone is fearful of some aspect of how to live their life and what people think of them, unless you're a psychopath, but even psychopaths. So even people who are obviously horrible, it comes from a place of trying to control a disordered world. And it's not about justifying, it's not about validating negative behavior, but it speaks to the truth of what Nadia's dad says, which is, if you leave enough time, if you don't just respond, if you don't let it seep into you, what's going on for this person, they will run aground somewhere else. They will come, and I don't mean there's satisfaction in this either, because that's mean, but they will come a cropper somewhere else. They will, you know, people use phrases like karma and all this kind of stuff. The shit, what goes around comes around, and it will come around eventually. So there is real merit in allowing people to come through you, affect you. It's worked for me with people I really love and really care about, who I, within them, can sense such dysfunctionality. The only way I can take the heat out of managing the situation, rather than letting it reflect on me, is to think, well, they're moving, they may move through this at some point. They may move away from this emotion or something. It's not, you know, and I've always in the past tried to seek to make good, but that's ego too. So ego can be a negative and a positive. You can, you know.
Lots of people here saying the Mel Robbins podcast. There's a Mel Robbins podcast is very good on this topic.
Rachel Pickard, I do think menopausal women go through a shedding of the ego. That's why it's so scary and also freeing. We're all just chimps in socks. I love that.
And Rachel, so that's where sometimes it can go very extreme, can't it? Because it might be like a lifetime of trying to make everybody like you, and then it goes extreme the other way, like Mark was talking about, you know, this is just the way I am and that's it, and everybody swallow it. And then hopefully one comes back to more of a balance.
Carol Robertson, that is so true. My biological dad wasn't interested in me, nor my stepdad. He thought it must be me for years. 55 now and finally getting it. Yeah. Lee, hi Lee Peart. I finally accepted I don't need to be liked by everyone, even though I very good.
I was going to say, what the fuck's going on here? Yeah. Who's hacked his account?
Carla Hatcham. I'm still learning not to be such a pushover. I'm happy with who I am and what I stand for, but it's easy to fall into the trap of people pleasing.
And it's funny actually, because Lee, you do sometimes worry, don't you? You do. He does. We always have this joke of being Lee about, oh God, you know, everything's so perfect. You know, you've got good amounts of ego, but you go deep.
What I love about you, Lee, is you run so much deeper than huge numbers of people in the world to see. And
we love us a bit of Lee.
I would like to say though, what seems to surround ego death a lot is word salads. And apparently, I think either the next episode of The Studio, brilliant Seth Rogen series on Apple, I think an actress takes a load of mushrooms. And they all stand in a crowd and they all go, don't worry, it's fine. She's just having an ego death.
And this is where it all comes on the TikTok side of it. But yes. That's what our kids were saying this morning. Oh, yeah, ego death. Oh, yeah, so-and-so had an ego death when they'd had acid. I was like, oh, is that what did you get that as well with ecstasy? Mostly acid people get it with. So I think what it means is they are suddenly not just thinking about themselves and maybe having a little empathy.
Now, we were going to talk about, is divorce like a death? Is it equivalent? We're not suggesting for a minute it is equivalent. I saw that Faith, you left a very emotional point there that it's not equivalent for you at all. Obviously, you tragically lost your husband. You lose a person. It's not the same as losing a relationship, of course. Absolutely not. Here it is, Faith.
Yeah, I saw that earlier too.
Comparing death and divorce is extremely offensive to widows and widowers. We will never see our loved ones again, but divorce you can and is choice. I wish I could see my lovely Tony again. Please don't compare.
But Faith, what I would say about that is that because the person that I'm thinking of that is grieving in a very similar way to somebody that would be grieving if their a spouse had died is because she didn't want the divorce.
Yeah.
She did not want it at all. She was so shocked as shocked could be. And not only that, He didn't want any contact. He didn't want anything. And 20 years later, and actually I can think of another person, aunt of mine, just never recovered. Couldn't think about another relationship, was and is, two people I'm thinking of, filled with a kind of rage that I also see in people when they've lost someone, that unfairness, the injustice, the sense of injustice that you've lost somebody. And of course, you could never say to somebody, you know, this is as, or this is more. You can't, because it's up to the individual person. But I do think that whatever kind of death, whether it is you've lost somebody literally because they've died, or the death of a relationship, I do think we want to rush people along with their emotions. Definitely. It's awkward. It's like, well, I've got nothing left I can say to this person when they're crying about the breakup of the relationship, crying about the death of a spouse. But I think where we go wrong with that is we don't need to be saying something. Sometimes we just need to be listening. And actually, it's so hard, isn't it? And I'm the worst culprit from it, because when somebody's sharing with me their pain, I want to say something that's going to make them feel better. I'm really trying to work hard on just listening better.
Compassionate leave is something that many companies offer. It's not obligatory. I mean, you know, they don't have to offer you compassionate leave for the death of a relative.
There is no legal requirement. What do we think about that?
And one of the sort of access points into the story was a story that Nadia was originally looking at, which was about someone in the public eye who's gone through a really acrimonious divorce, and one of the papers was doing that classic spin story of look how awful they appear and how sad, and it was a horrendous divorce. And I think the equivalence that's being drawn there, and I get exactly what you're saying, Faith. Of course, there's no equivalent, and for you that must be really, really horrible to sort of even entertain that thought. But I think it's the idea that with any sort of major trauma that people go through in their lives, and let's put divorce in there as one of the many different traumas that we can go through. Like you're saying, Nance, if both sides haven't understood that this is the best thing for the two of us, it's the best thing for the kids, and if one part or one half of that partnership is really not wanting it to happen, the shadow of that grief, that sort of grief, which is a different, let's say it's a different kind of grief, but it's an intense grief that I think we as a society, and going back to the apocalypse, Armageddon, things stop and suddenly people connect and drink as well as the fear. We don't allow ourselves time. We're rushing not only everyone else through things, but we're rushing ourselves through things because we, I think, often, not for horrible reasons, don't know what to say or do with it.
But that's where we go wrong, isn't it? We almost go back to ego. We go back to why people are looking to the East for spiritual connection and understanding. And it's really as simple as this. We have to listen better, not only to the person, but to ourselves.
Yes.
Like we want to rush through our feelings, because actually to sit with them is agonizing. But sometimes to sit with them, we can pass through them. And I say it to the girls, I say it to you sometimes, don't I? And you say it to me as well. We just say, just sit with it. Is it a day for sitting with it? Would you like somebody to just, also, I think we don't know, having lost people in our lives, Mark and I, you know, when we were much younger, I didn't know how to ask to say to people that I wanted to talk more about it, because I felt that it was uncomfortable. And you want to just be able to have a bit of, like, if you've got a friend, you know, that's lost somebody, my advice would, and you're not knowing how to communicate with them, I think sometimes it's would be really nice to say, listen, should we just sit? Just like, it doesn't have to be a back and forth conversation. We could just ruminate over it.
I think this is really interesting. Louise Cooper says, grief for a relationship isn't always for the person, but for the life you've imagined and planned. And that's the same as losing someone to death.
Yes.
I think, interestingly, that made me think of how what we went through and what many people go through when miscarriages happen. You project, whether you like it or not, you project forward. And of course, the same thing happens when you lose a loved one. You're thinking of the life you would have led, the continued life you could have had together. So it is grief, and there are different shades of grief for different experiences. Absolutely. So
that's why I always say to people, if somebody has a miscarriage, never ever say to them, how many weeks for you? Because it's just, honestly, it's so painful, because you think, oh, they're going to add up the weeks and they're going to see what your grief, what the value of your grief was. And nobody can evaluate somebody else's grief, because just like every other thing in life, we're all just different, aren't we? So,
Adele Norse, I think there should be more understanding around the grief you experience even years later. So many people think grief just goes after the first year or so, but sometimes it can feel even worse.
Well, Adele, I would go as far as to say sometimes it does not touch for a year. You don't land. I call it the landing into grief. Can take a really long time.
Northern Soul, I'm going through a divorce after 39 years in a controlling relationship. Even though I'm constantly reminded I'm in a better place, I feel sad and somewhat bereaved of having any form of connection.
And also the hope, because you always have hope, don't you? Even if you're a good person and you're in a relationship with somebody who's a really bad person, it's very difficult to not keep hoping, because you keep thinking, well, this person will see that this is like a horrible way to behave, and so giving up the hope as well is really painful.
And sending you love, Faith. Totally understand.
Yes, and anyone here that is dealing with either in any way grief, it's so painful and it's so everlasting. And we always say this, don't we? You don't get over it, you just learn to grow around it, and that's the price we pay for love, as the Queen said, to quote the Queen. Bunty V, finally, slightly off topic, but I have found that miscarriages and failed IVF cycles are absolutely a bereavement and grief. You have sadness for the imagined child and life of that child that you dreamt of. Absolutely, and it's not off topic at all. No, not at all. It's again, it's like us quantifying grief. You were 6 months in. Oh, you were only 6 weeks in. Oh, you were 6 hours in. If you're going through IVF and it's taken and it's 6 hours, that's monumental, seismic in your life. So, yeah, just more understanding, I think. Ree says there's no monopoly on suffering. Absolutely. No. And I think to just keep on asking somebody. I mean, we have Faith here who lost her husband recently, really. And it's like, we quite often say, don't we, after a life, so I wonder how Faith is doing, because that should go on. It should go on. It's not something that you just, okay, well, that's that. Yeah, the funeral's done, no. Oh, has everyone sent you nice messages, Faith? What a lovely group of people we are here, huh? Thank you. Do you want to show your funny? Yes, we have a funny, everybody. Now, this is just so adorable. And if you want to think of something that your mum said, because this is a little girl who's saying all the things her mum would say. It's 1 second. What is going on? No more snaps. Elliot, Tessa, Aubrey, get down here, whatever your name is. I want you to try it. Can I just have 5 minutes? Are you bleeding? Then you don't need a Band-Aid. Keep the water in a tub. I'm getting rid of all these twists and sending them to Goodwill. Who did this? When are you going to be home? I need some coffee. Now, I hear Mommy one more time. Mommy's going to lose it. Are you almost done yet? I don't think I'm going to make it. Don't knock over the laundry. Has anybody seen my keys? Has anyone seen my phone? Didn't just grow legs and walk away. First one to find my phone gets a piece of candy. Why do I bother cleaning? That's not where they go. Everybody off me for just 5 minutes. I shall be so quiet. Anyone see anything, Aubrey? No, say I'm sorry. They'll give each other a hug. No more changing into outfits. I have an idea. Let's play the silent game. Good. Because I said so. Get what you get, and you don't go fit. There's nothing you can say, and there's nothing you can do. That will keep me from loving you, because we will always love you. I love you. Oh my God. Oh. I just had an ego death. Oh, they're both so cute. So cute. Shakira Bad, my kids did impressions of me the other day. This isn't far off. Oh my God. Maddie, as we've said before, does the most brilliant impressions. Maddie at the moment is doing an impersonation, doing the rounds of my stomach rumbling. So Mark has a very, very noisy stomach. So Maddie inhabits the character of the stomach and then interprets what the stomach is trying to tell him. Makes Kiki piss herself with laughter. She so reminds me of Dina. So funny. Dina used to keep us howling with laughter with impressions, funny. And Maddie's got that gift as well. Yeah, she really has. So sweet, so cute, and The Silent Game was my favourite, says Rachel Pickard. Exactly. Thank you,
All right,
everyone, so
guys.
much. Don't forget, we are going to be posting in a little bit our Gaza video. So if you want to watch that later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.